2025, and we are on to program number 1493 of the Lunchroom. I'm your host, Calix George Jr. In addition to radio, 101.1 FM, you can also get us at our website, rcistlucia.com, and we are also streaming live on Facebook. And of course, that's you just have to search for the official page of Radio Caribbean International. Now, we, of course, are going to take a little bit of history for today, and we're going to go back to the year 1520 on this date when Portuguese navigator Ferdinand Magellan began crossing the Pacific Ocean. In the year 1814 on this day, the Times of London is first printed by automatic steam-powered presses built by German inventors Friedrich Koenig and Andreas Friedrich Bauer, making newspapers available to a mass audience. In the year 1893, on this day, New Zealand women voted for the first time in a national election. 1919, on this day, an American-born lady, Nancy Astor, was elected as the first female member of the British House of Commons and took her seat. In 1967, on this day, the first radio pulsars were detected by British postgraduate Jocelyn Bell Burnell and her supervisor Anthony Hewish at the University of Cambridge. We now move on to our dish of the day.
In a nation where parents fight every day to guide their children away from gangs, one party stands for gangsterism.
Gangster is yellow tonight. Gangster is yellow tonight.
This is the UWP's candidate for Castries South. And the man he learned it from?
The gangs have served some good purposes in this country. The gangs have served some good purposes in this country.
But Philip J. Pear and his slate of SLP candidates stand between these men and the dangerous ideas they promote. Your vote can make a difference. We must all act and work together to stop gang violence in St. Lucia. On December 1, vote for your Labour Party candidate. Say no to yellow.
Every bed in our hospitals tells a story of someone's mother, someone's brother, someone's friend. And when that story of care is complete, it's time for the next chapter, home. But too often, discharged patients are left waiting hours, days, weeks, sometimes months, not because they want to stay, but because no one comes. We understand life gets busy, but every extra day they wait means another patient, perhaps in pain, perhaps in crisis, can't get the bed they desperately need. So when the call comes that your loved one is ready, please be ready too. Pick them up, bring them back to the comfort of family, where healing truly continues. Because caring doesn't end at discharge, it continues with you. A message from the Ministry of Health, Wellness and Elderly Affairs.
Serving now, the Daily Dish.
And welcome back to the lunchroom here at Radio Caribbean International. And of course, we're just a few days away from general elections here in St. Lucia, which of course will be happening on the 1st of December. But in fact, today, the polls have opened for particular individuals, the likes of police officers, members of the protective services, fire service officers, nurses, I believe correctional officers as well, persons part of the Broadway Correctional Facility, and also voting happening in places where individuals are patients, if you like. So both in the hospitals, I think both in St. Jude Hospital as well as in the Owen King EU Hospital, and in senior citizens' homes, those persons who are staying and living in those facilities also have an opportunity to go out to vote today. Of course, also election workers, persons hired by the electoral department, they too have an opportunity to cast their ballot today as part of early voting here in St. Lucia. We would, of course, like to see at some point in the future some perhaps changes to the maybe widening of that pool of individuals who could perhaps enjoy early voting, because undoubtedly there are quite often individuals who will, for one reason or another, simply not be able to actually cast their vote on election day itself. And we've been seeing a lot in terms of the argument being made in respect of low voter turnouts. And of course, that to some degree, of course, we know is skewed because of the reality that many people who are in fact on that list are not even resident in St. Lucia anymore. They may have migrated, but there is still also perhaps a very sizable group of individuals who, for one reason or another, they're in St. Lucia maybe half the year, or they come and they go, or of course you have, and I speak a lot about certainly those who are on overseas work programs. We've seen them. We've seen a lot of St. Lucians, for example, taking up work in cruise ships in the cruise sector. And a number of them, of course, may not necessarily be on island when an election is in fact called. And of course, people travel a lot more these days, a lot more than before. So it is definitely something that, especially if we are thinking about trying to ensure better access to the franchise of individuals exercising their democratic right, that should be an option. You hear sometimes, right here in St. Lucia and perhaps other parts of the Caribbean, that some parties try to offer persons an opportunity to come back home to vote, and that sometimes may even skew the outcome, because you're getting individuals who may not even necessarily be au courant with the real issues, who are not even resident on the island, and they have sometimes take up that opportunity and to vote for whatever party may have decided to do just that. But be that as it may, certainly the need to ensure that individuals have that greater opportunity to, in fact, cast their ballot is something that I think we have to consider moving into the future. And when we speak about electoral reform, that certainly is one of the areas that should be considered. Another one, of course, is the issue of the size of certain constituencies and the balancing of the equitable nature of seats. And that still is an issue outstanding. And you'd recall, I think somewhere around 2014, there was, in fact, a very comprehensive review of the constituencies undertaken by the Boundaries Commission, which looked into the matter of trying to ensure that the Constitution of St. Lucia is followed more. And of course, the Constitution speaks to having seats as close as possible to being equal, with regard, of course, to things like natural boundaries and administrative boundaries and the connectivity of constituencies. So that, of course, is one of the issues that is still outstanding. And sometimes there are these anomalies that we still have in some regards that don't quite match some of the principles in respect of our system of government under the Constitution. For example, you would know that in the case of Saltibus, for example, the PI Saltibus area, that is actually in the administrative district or quarter of Labrie. But since I think about 1974, it has in fact been part of or lumped together with that of Choiseul. Another area well, of course, in that instance, it's contiguous, and so one can argue it's not too bad, but certainly it does cause for a larger Choiseul and a smaller Labrie. And then, of course, to compensate for that, you see also that Labrie ends up spilling into part of Vieux-Fort, in particular the Black Bay and Auger region is in fact part of Labrie and not part of one of the Vieux-Fort seats. Of course, you have some other little interesting situations like that of the Sunbelt area. And Sunbelt is, it's part of Castries North, but you cannot really drive to any other part of Castries North from Sunbelt without passing through another constituency, whether it is Castries Central or Castries East. And so it's an interesting split. It's not a pure exclave because it is still part of, joined together the rest of Castries North, but not in terms of the road network. And so you've got these little interesting situations. But of course, the most glaring concern is that of the Grosley constituency, with upwards of about 25 to 30,000 people in that constituency. And of course, it is so much larger than all the others. And so certainly that still is a matter that needs to be considered and rectified. The recommendation coming out of that former boundaries report really was to try to split that seat into three or so. But of course, you would recall that there was a challenge made by Mr. Guy Joseph over this entire boundaries report. And so although it went to Parliament and it was in fact passed, he brought a case against it, and this matter still is not resolved. So certainly we need to see improvements to that entire system of being able to vote, and of course making sure that the vote is equitable. But coming back to the matter of the vote, you do hear, of course, so many individuals, far too many individuals seem to be disconnected to the politics of the country and in terms of understanding their role in the democratic process. And albeit we all have that opportunity to go out and cast a vote once every 5 years, many people do not see it as something that is important. And because as well, society has become so transactional that it is something that you hear quite often. People are talking about, what am I getting directly for going out to vote? Now, it's an interesting state of play because it therefore means that many people, unfortunately, don't necessarily understand the importance of government. They have somewhat disconnected from the reality that decisions that are made by government can, in fact, impact on their lives, whether it is through taxation and tax policy, whether it is through what government delivers in terms of public services, whether it is in terms of what government has to do at the community level, in terms of infrastructure, what government does in terms of providing utilities, whether it's water, whether it's energy, whether it is sanitation, how government deals with major social services like healthcare, as well as education. All of these things really, at the end of the day, come down to quite often the government that is elected. And we have seen, of course, far too often very sad stories and individuals, of course, ending up complaining after the fact, after the horses have bolted, about the quality of governance that is meted out. And so that's really why we all have to pay attention to the matter of decision making. First, in the first instance, of course, ensuring that we can elect the best or government that we can, whether it is at the local level as well as at the national level. But in addition to that, also holding government to account by, in fact, participating in the process of decision making. And certainly that has been a challenge, ensuring that people feel that that they, in fact, their views are being considered, that they have a view, that they have a say in the decision process. So it's one thing, yes, to elect a government, but by just simply electing a government, that does not mean that the average person should not still have a voice in specific decisions. Now, sometimes, of course, but very, very, very rarely, we see decisions being made by processes of referenda. Not so much here in our instance, in the Caribbean, but there are many other places in the world, and you can think maybe of Switzerland, for example, where the average citizen has to vote on a number of different issues. And so they really do have a lot more than just one vote. And our current system, all each of us gets is that one vote every 5 years or so. And maybe that too is something that we need to work into the way government works. That government is, in fact, also utilizing technology towards doing polling, towards finding out how people feel about various issues, how those issues, how they want those issues to be resolved, and of course to get a better sense as to how people feel. It certainly is not something that should be done only around election time. It really has to be part of the way that government works. And so let's hope, too, that this is one of the things that we can see moving forward, because, of course, we are hearing about moving forward towards 2035 and having a vision for that, and a vision for that driven by technology. And technology certainly can also be utilized in terms of improving governance and ensuring that people have a greater opportunity to be able to have their say. Now, of course, over in St. Vincent, yesterday we witnessed the end of an era, and that of the Honorable Ralph Gonsalves, who had been, in fact, the Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines for nearly 25 years. 25 years is a very long time for any one person to, in fact, maintain themselves as the leader of a country. And those years have been unbroken. So we're not talking about situations where there was a come and a go and he lost and he came back. No, these have been since 2001 or 2000 or so. Ralph Gonsalves has been the Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And 79 years old, looking for a sixth term. It's pretty clear that the electorate over in St. Vincent said that they had had enough and they wanted to make a break with that, with Mr. Gonsalves at that time. Yes, he won a seat, of course, but he was the only one in his party to be able to win his seat. And the swing, of course, to the National Democratic Party, the NDP, led them to, in fact, have a landslide victory in the islands of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And so, of course, as a result of that, new Prime Minister will be sworn in, that of Dr. Godwin Elliott Lorraine Friday. And he has been around for a very long time as well as the leader of the NDP. In fact, I think his time in that position has gone as far back as 2016, believe it or not, when he became the leader of the New Democratic Party. So he's been around for a very long time as well. And he, in fact, 66, so definitely much younger than Mr. Gonzalez by about 13 years. Also coming from the Grenadines, similar to an earlier Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines during that era of the 1970s and 80s. And of course, I speak of James Mitchell, and he also coming from the Grenadines, and so similar pathway for him there. So the NDP finally back in after what clearly has been a very, very long time out in the wilderness in respect of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Now, of course, there is, of course, no doubt a message here for politicians that there are limits to how long people will want you to be around. And in the case of Mr. Gonzalez, you would recall that this perhaps should not even have been an election he was contesting because there have been attempts at looking at new leadership under the ULP, Unity Labour Party, for quite some time. And of course, not just that, but he had also been running a very slim majority of just one seat over the past two electoral cycles. And I believe in the last electoral cycle, they were not even able to get the popular vote. And so it has been certainly a situation where this was in the making for a very, very long time. Of course, no doubt about it, Ralph Gonzalez has done quite a lot in terms of his time around in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and one can say that there are some significant legacy projects which he has been able to achieve. I think most notably, of course, the construction of the Argyle International Airport. That has certainly meant a great deal in terms of opening up potential for tourism in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Most of their tourism, of course, had been focused primarily on the Grenadines. Lots of interest in yachting over the years, or enclaves such as the likes of Canawan and Moustique. But clearly, in terms of the mainland in St. Vincent, it had not seen any significant expansion of tourism. And so finally, with the Argyle International Airport being constructed, opening up the opportunity for international flights, direct flights, from the UK as well as Canada and the United States, major markets, as we've been enjoying over the years, they, of course, have now seen an influx of investment into St. Vincent proper. And, of course, the Sandals property, which is opened up there in the utilizing the former Bookament Bay development, which is the company called Harlequin, of course, which we knew here in St. Lucia as well. Sandals taking that over after a tremendous bit of destruction, so right next to a river, in fact. But they've certainly created a very extensive resort there now, and even expanding it as we speak. And then the plans as well for that same company to also open a family resort, beaches resort. So certainly we're seeing development, new cargo port constructed in Kingstown. And so, yes, definitely signs of growth and change, a new hospital which was being constructed by that government as well. But all of these things clearly still did not impress sufficiently the electorate to give Mr. Gonzalez a sixth term, as he was looking to, in fact, achieve. And you think back, for example, to John Compton, who, of course, was able to, in fact, I think, have up to 7 terms in St. Lucia, albeit the 7th term where he, in fact, passed. But let's also not forget that the terms before that were not continuous. And so in any one time, Mr. Compton was able to win 3 terms in a row. He was able to do that between 1964 and 1979, winning the 64 election, the 69 election, and the 74 election. But of course, he was defeated in 1979. And then he enjoyed another 3-term period from 82, winning the 82 election, winning the 87 elections, as well as the 92 elections. But by 1996, of course, deciding to bow out after spending another 15 years. So you can see that there is a point where, or a limit most times, where the electorate somewhat grows weary and tired of a politician, and they quite often want change. They want to see fresh blood coming forward, and they just simply want a new perspective. So that is certainly something that we've got to be mindful of, no doubt, in terms of development, and of course the whole issue as to whether in fact we need term limits in these small island developing states. Big debate, of course, no doubt will be had about that, because some will argue that we're dealing with a small pool of human resources, but at the same time, there should still be limits in that regard. And that's the view of many, I have no doubt about. And so quite often people have self-imposed term limits. And this happens even in countries that you would consider to be communist. And you sometimes think of a Fidel Castro, of course, who led Cuba for many, 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 many years. But in the case of China, very, very different approach that the Chinese apply. They have generally allowed their leaders a period of 10 years or 2 terms in office. And they certainly do believe in the importance of succession planning, the need to be able to allow for new individuals to come forward and to be part of the governance and structure of the country. And so that is certainly something that we have to be, I think, mindful of. And politicians, of course, need to be mindful of, that they do get to a point where their welcome may, they may no longer be welcomed. They've overstayed their welcome, and so therefore you get these types of reactions that may have very little to do with performance, but a lot to do with just pure fatigue within the electorate. Of course, the situation here in St. Lucia, very different. And we've been seeing since the year 2006, when Mr. Gonzalez was already in his 2nd term, we've been seeing a back and forth in our electoral landscape, that pendulum swinging back and forth for many election cycles now. And of course, as many have said, that may not always be to the benefit of countries. There is quite often a need for some level of stability. And stability is because really you need time to actually realize projects and to ensure that those developmental programs can settle down and can actually be created properly. And so that, I think, is a major element to be considered. The situation in Barbados, for example, generally speaking, you see the Barbadian electorate giving about 2 terms to a government before potentially making a switch. But certainly, in terms of leaders, the idea that a leader should be around for 6 terms is certainly pushing it in very, very many areas. I think maybe, I'm not too sure, I'll have to check the exact length of time in the case of Dominica and Roosevelt Skerritt. He certainly has been around for a little while. But certainly Mr. Gonzalez, very, very long period of time there, and he certainly had some very clear contributions which he made to St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and has made something to the region as well. and I think his voice at the regional level in guiding conversation and has certainly been very, very important. And so we'll, of course, have to see how things pan out for him as to whether, in fact, he will be holding on as the Lone Ranger in the Parliament of St. Vincent, or whether, in fact, he may decide to bow out to fresh leadership under the Unity Labour Party over in St. Vincent. That's our dish of the day. When we come back, we're taking our weather report, and then we've also got some videos to take in as well later on the state of play of elections 2025 here in St. Lucia. We'll be right back.
This has been The Daily Dish.
In a nation where parents fight every day to guide their children away from gangs, one party stands for gangsterism.
Gangster is yellow tonight. Gangster is yellow tonight.
This is the UWP's candidate for Castries South. And the man he learned it from?
The gangs have served some good purposes in this country. The gangs have served some good purposes in this country.
But Philip J. Pear and his slate of SLP candidates stand between these men and the dangerous ideas they promote. Your vote can make a difference. We must all act and work together to stop gang violence in St. Lucia. On December 1, vote for your Labour Party candidate. Say no to yellow.
Every bed in our hospitals tells a story of someone's mother, someone's brother, someone's friend. And when that story of care is complete, it's time for the next chapter, home. But too often, discharged patients are left waiting hours, days, weeks, sometimes months, not because they want to stay, but because no one comes. We understand life gets busy, but every extra day they wait means another patient, perhaps in pain, perhaps in crisis, can't get the bed they desperately need. So when the call comes that your loved one is ready, please be ready too. Pick them up, bring them back to the comfort of family, where healing truly continues. Because caring doesn't end at discharge, it continues with you. A message from the Ministry of Health, Wellness and Elderly Affairs.
It's now time for our weather report, brought to you by Island Style.
Last year, boy, problems to get shipment of tiles in time for Christmas. This year, Island Style has enough tiles in stock to cover the whole of St. Lucia. And with our Christmas sale starting now, every tile is on sale. Island Style has massive stock, the widest variety, and the very best sale prices on quality tiles and natural stone in St. Lucia. Great deals on beautiful bathroom faucets, vanities and fixtures, tiling tools and accessories. Don't fall for no gimmicks anywhere else. Island Style's annual Christmas sale is unbeatable. Tiles for miles. Deals as far as the eye can see. Start your car, ride your bike, hop on a bus, and hurry down to Island Style Town and Bath now. Castries, Rodney Bay, and Viewford. Check Facebook for more details.
This is Radio Caribbean International. It's now time for the weather news.
And the forecast for St. Lucia Valley for the next 24 hours. Winds will be blowing from between the east near 21 miles per hour or 30 kilometers per hour. Weather, fair skies becoming cloudy at times with a few showers. Forecast for the Lesser Antilles. Fair skies becoming cloudy at times with a few showers, scattered showers. Your tropical weather outlook. The Atlantic high pressure system will maintain moderate to brisk easterly winds over the region during the next 24 hours. Patches of low level clouds drifting along with the wind flow will cause occasional showers over the islands. Tropical cyclone formation is not expected over the tropical Atlantic during the next 7 days. And that is your weather report, brought to you by Island Style.
This has been RCI's Weather News. For more information, call the Weather Hotline at 454-3452. RCI 101 #1.
Last year, boy, problems to get shipment of tiles in time for Christmas. This year, Island Style has enough tiles in stock to cover the whole of St. Lucia. And with our Christmas sale starting now, every tile is on sale. Island Style has massive stock, the widest variety, and the very best sale prices on quality tiles. And natural stone in St. Lucia. Great deals on beautiful bathroom faucets, vanities and fixtures, tiling tools and accessories. Don't fall for no gimmicks anywhere else. Island Style's annual Christmas sale is unbeatable. Tiles for miles. Deals as far as the eye can see. Start your car, ride your bike, hop on a bus, and hurry down to Island Style Tile and Bath now. Castries, Rodney Bay, and Viewfort. Check Facebook for more details.
And welcome back to the lunchroom here at Radio Caribbean International. Now, of course, coming back to politics here in St. Lucia, we've been hearing rhetoric on both sides of the political fence. Of course, in these times, everybody believes that they are the party to win, and they are, of course, making that known. Now, in the case of St. Vincent, actually, we did see a poll come out of WIC News, online poll, albeit, which did in fact suggest, coming out of that poll, that the Unity Labour Party was only leading in 3 seats, i.e. they would have lost 12, 3 in that instance. The outcome that we saw, in fact, was 14-1 with them. So it did appear that if the swing towards the NDP continued to grow even beyond that poll result. In the case of St. Lucia, that same organization, WIC News, again through a similar poll of about 2,500 St. Lucians, was in fact showing that the governing party, and the alliance of the government party as well, SLP, plus the 2 independents, were in fact leading in all 17 seats. And so there has been, of course, a big debate on as to whether that is, in fact, something that is going to pan out, whether that is something that is realistic. And there was, in fact, a vox pop coming out of Choice News, where they were, in fact, interviewing some people on the ground, asking them how they would feel about the whole idea of a whitewash, i.e. All 17 seats going to the St. Lucia Labour Party. Now, of course, one should say that there have been other countries in the Caribbean where we have, in fact, seen that happen, namely Barbados as well as in Grenada. It has not quite ever happened in St. Lucia. Came very close in 1997 with 16-1. But that scenario of effectively no opposition representation in the House of Assembly has never happened in the case of St. Lucia. But let's listen in to some of the views of people on the streets.
17 notes nous cabayo, c'est ça nous cabayo, et puis yo 36 c'est ça, 17 notes. Pas toi 17 notes. Ah ouais, nous travaillons de 23. Ma vle 17 notes là. 17 notes là baba, non ni pour new position.
Anybody that goes into politics without confidence in themselves winning should not be in it. Right? And as Prime Minister, he has confidence that they will win all 17. But it all depends on the ballot box and how big the turnout is and so on. That sort of thing, you know.
Because of his works. Because of his work, and he will continue to do the good work he has been doing.
even 17 candidates. He doesn't have 17 candidates. How will he able to win 17 seats when he himself doesn't have 17 candidates? What do you take St. Lucians for? Stupidness or stupidity? What are St. Lucians? Stupid people? You doesn't have 17 candidates. How can you win 17 seats? And he himself is afraid of his own.
Mais il pas réalistique ou pas ça vle hold 17 notes. Sou travail pour le Kaiwan mais sou pas travail pour le pas ça vle hold 17 notes.
Et puis il a fait bon bagay. Il a fait bon tout. Il a fait un chai bon bagay. Il a tiré mon caca, il a fait un chai bagay bon. Na ouais il a travaillé. Il a travaillé en chai.
Yes, it is possible. He has performed, he has delivered. Best Prime Minister this country ever had. Our economy is booming. So yes, going for the 17th seat, and yes, he will get the 17th seat.
It's not unrealistic. Of course, as leader of the party in office, he would be confident, and at the same time, the party has been claiming that they have performed. And of course, I cannot deny that they have performed. So if they have performed, and he's saying 17, I don't think it's unrealistic. It has happened in Barbados twice. It happened, I think, in Grenada once. And with the limited number of seats we have in these small islands, I think it's realistic. Whether it happens is something else, but I think it's realistic.
Well, anything could happen, my brother. But for me alone, if I get 17, I'll be good, because I don't want to see none of them fellas there. I care what people say, I don't want to see none of them. Because don't come and tell me no nonsense about you change. Why you change? A man say he change, he go help, and he even talk about the healthcare thing. We don't know what the healthcare man. You say you have about $75,000 for 180,000 people. Me never say go and calculate that. If you calculate that, that will be over 3 times our budget, you know. So tell them I was going to wipe their feet, man. Go and wash their face because they're ready yet, my brother. And if the PM say he wants 17 seats, I agree with him. And I myself, I want 17 too.
Est-ce réalistique? Oui, irréalistique. Avec moi savent nous kay 17 seats. Et quand l'autre bagay moi voulais 10 gens cette liste moi exorvé. En l'autre bagay moi exorvé. Moi regarder manifesto SLP et manifesto UWP. SLP mettait toutes ces noms au one. Okay? Lana say no man is an island, no man stands alone. Chaste mette yon. Ex-gens cette liste pas ka wè nom blanc. Still ka fait tant slavery, il pa vle zot. So pa ka wè pouchi pa mette zot au one. Il mette he stands alone. Leve cette liste.
I most certainly see it as realistic. I mean, in the beginning I was thinking, well, that will not happen. But the truth is, now that I see the mood of the country, that people really and truly understand it's between Alan Chasney coming back to destroy this country and bring us back many years, or Philip J. Pierre, who has been on a forward trajectory. So the truth is, I believe that yes, we can get 17. Of late, I have come more and more to accept it. And the reality is, there was a time when we got 16. 16 is only one away from 17. So the truth is, I think St. Lucians are thinking about their future. And the lies and deception of the United Workers' Party will not work anymore. And the people, I believe we are wise people. I sometimes believe, and when I listen to Alan Chasney sometimes, I believe that he believes St. Lucians are a bunch of stupid, unintelligent people. But I believe the reality is St. Lucians know what, when it is good, they know it's good.
And that clip coming from Choice TV, and not so long ago, of course, getting the thoughts and sentiments of individuals out and about in the city of Castries. And of course, no doubt, of course, it'll all be determined on on Monday as to what will be the final outcome in terms of seats. No doubt, a lot of elections are really dependent on what happens on the day, how well various sides mobilize. Unfortunately, we have seen over the years too the unfortunate presence of money and lots of people effectively suggesting that they want to be paid for their vote and that sort of thing. And we really do hope that individuals will think a little bit differently about that type of approach. Let's take a call at this time. Good afternoon. Welcome to the lunchroom. What's on your plate today?
Good afternoon, sir.
Hi, how are you doing?
Not too bad, not too bad. Firstly, I want to just lodge my displeasure with the way the cement trucks are spewing concrete materials on the place. You just had a road that's just almost finished.
You're talking about the Vesicry Road?
No, the Monsitor Riviera Meter Road.
Ah, yes, okay.
Last night, climb in there and see the amount of cement that dropped off from the trucks. Okay, we cannot escape that St. Lucia has hills and mountains. But what does it take to have a lorry or a pickup or something with somebody either to hose up that thing or to brush it out or something? To me, this guys take it for, for granted. Now, so now what I'm saying, you have, maybe that'll be inevitable, but the government or whosoever, the police or whatever, have to say, look, you're carrying concrete material up the hill, get somebody to wash that thing out. You have bikers, this loose gravel. I mean, how long? You want somebody to kill themselves on that road? And I mean, the road is not even completed as yet.
Right.
Okay. I mean, a brand new road. That last time they done that road was in 2015. Okay. Lucky the people get the road, and that's what's happening. You even a Poipy town in that crucial corner there. You have
yes.
I mean, you have policemen charging people just for parking to go and pay their bills in town and Rodney Beach. Okay? I mean, some serious person in the government have to say enough is enough. The road is not even completed as yet. Brand new road. You go in there last night, you have concrete screen all over the road. Some has 2 inches thick.
Wow.
I mean, where's the respect and regard? Be it Renault, be it C.O. Williams, be it whosoever. I mean, get your act together.
Yeah, in fact, I thought you were referring to the Vesicry Road, because I remember actually not too long ago I actually witnessed a cement truck trying to go up that road just off in the KRF junction, and it was just simply not able to get up, and it was causing for a lot of material.
Yeah, well, okay, do not carry enough material.
So exactly, and I think that is the thing. So they probably are loading it a lot too much, and then the channels themselves that are actually what they use to actually pour the concrete. There should be a way to prevent it from actually releasing it, the material like that, because that's what happens. It just ends up pouring out as they're going. So it's something that needs to be looked at, certainly, in terms of ensuring that those trucks are up to spec.
Yeah, secondly,
probably the inspection of the trucks is something that may need to happen to make sure that is not something that is actually happening. Because you're right. I mean, look at the Monji Road Monjiro Hill is a great example of that. But also the Union Hill too. You can't even drive the little side lane, the climbing lane there is all uneven as a result of it.
I would witness an oil spill or something that's dangerous on the road. I'd call the fire service. Look, come, we have a situation there. But I would hate to pass and see somebody run off the road, some child got injured or something,
Yes.
So we as solutions, or we as business people have to get our things better. You cannot be solely on making money and you're not watching the environment and the kind of things you cause on the road. Secondly, I want to wish all the candidates good luck for Monday. I definitely know where I'm heading and what I'm doing. So I'm asking, it to be a violent free, and people just just vote on your conscience and vote on what you see, what's happening and stuff. So I wish everyone all the best. All right, thank you.
Thanks very much, caller, for that. And of course, that's important, voting on your conscience. I mean, you hear that so often, and this issue about vote buying is something that is of concern because you then have to ask yourself, okay, if somebody's actually trying to buy your vote, where is that money coming from? And what is tied to that? And if that is the kind of situation you have, people trying to make deals on a vote, chances are they've made deals with somebody else. Chances are they've already made a deal, in terms of a potential, investor or potential donor, and they have to pay back there. So that's really where we have to be thinking about. And so at the end of it all, those types of situations don't work out to our benefit. I mean, you've seen, projects that were signed, for example, within mere weeks of a government coming into power, and then you have to wonder, sometimes these types of situations, is there external influence? Are there external players who are trying to gain a foothold or gain control? And definitely that has been a major issue. We saw it. We heard quite a bit about that over in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. The importation of yellow is the code out of Trinidad and Tobago. And, of course, we're seeing UNC operatives playing a part in the current election over there. And even here, too, of course, in terms of some of the music. And then, of course, you've got to wonder what's going on behind the scenes. Let's take in a call. Good afternoon.
Hello.
Welcome to the lunchroom. How are you doing, caller?
Good afternoon, Mr. George.
How are you doing?
Not too bad.
Wonderful.
Now, I have an important call there today.
Yes.
Are you hearing me?
Hearing you loud and clear.
Okay. Chasney said he's going to give the St. Lucian people 75,000 each of them for universal health care.
Well, national health insurance.
Tell me, if we have 180,000 people in St. Lucia, how many pensioners we have amongst them that earning and they cannot pay that pension? Who's going to pay for them?
Well, according to what he has said, the government will pay for certain people. And that's a very good question that you're asking. What part of the population are dependents, right? The section of the population that are under a certain age, children, right? So the population under 18, and the population over 60 or 65, if you want. Now, it's ironic to it that you're raising that, because in the same breath that he's raising the issue of he's going to pay for, or he claims that he's going to pay for pensioners or for people over a certain age. He hasn't really said what age. But then I think somewhere in the mix, there's a suggestion about how they're going to reduce the pensionable age to 55. And I mean, that is going contrary to any logic, right, in respect of the fact that we have an aging population. I mean, all that you're going to do in a situation like that is that if the NIC fund has, say, up until maybe 2035, in terms of the coverage for beneficiaries, all that is going to do is that you're just going to mean that the fund is going to be depleted even faster, right? I mean, this is why you have actuaries looking at these issues. But it's an important point that you're raising,
but for so
because
much money,
you have a lot more older individuals.
And so I don't know, but I can tell the people of St. Lucia, be careful, because the last time Chasney said he would put ching-ching in their pocket.
What I can tell you,
they vote Chasney in, he never talk about that again.
What I can tell you, caller, is that our labor force, right, so people who are actively in labor, in the workforce, is I think it was about 107,000 people. I think that I'll have to check the exact figure. Yeah. But if you consider that, then that you're then talking about maybe about
80,000.
If you take that from 180, you're talking about 73,000 people who are not in the workforce for some reason, right? whether they're children under the age of 18 or whatever, although the workforcing is from 15.
And those
16,
that's already pensioned.
and those are
How
that are
many
already
of them?
that are already pensioned, right? And then of course you have other persons with disabilities, or for one reason or another, they can't be in the workforce, so they're not participating. And then you of course also have those who are not employed, right? So you easily, I mean, I think there were about 97,000 people employed or thereabouts. So let's just say another 10,000 are in fact not employed. So you really are talking about nearly 83,000 people who they can't pay a premium. They cannot pay a premium. They won't be able to pay a premium. And then you got to ask yourself, what is that premium going to be, right? To be able to support.
Mr. George, England and that since after the war, and now they hardly can pay for the people. They are in all sorts of trouble. They raised the working age 65 women and 70 men.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so what you're getting out of Mr. Chasney is very clear. A lot of promises that don't really tie in very well together. They cannot. Something has to give. You cannot be in one breath saying, well, the government will take care of, because really, according to what we're saying, the government has to take about 80,000 people.
Yeah.
Where's the money going to come from for that purpose? And then at the same time, you're not only talking about those there, you're also talking about expanding pension aid, bringing down the pension age to 55 in the same breath. And then in the same breath, you're also saying you're going to take out the health and security levy, right? So then so that money cannot be used for healthcare. And then he's also promising. I mean, and this is what promises. So he's on top of that, he's also promising to reduce VAT. So I mean, at the end of it all, where is the money going to come from?
Well, I heard Aaron Alexander said what made giving St. Lucia now is a pie in the sky. And I believe is a pie in the sky. He given St. Lucian.
Well, caller, he's given.
He want to come back in power.
Yeah.
And I warn in St. Lucian, don't be stupid.
But caller, we've been there before, you know. Remember 5 to stay alive.
Definitely we've been
right?
there
Remember the elimination of VAT. Remember these promises. And in fact, he made promises for NHI, National Health Insurance, in every single budget for the past. He was there for 5 years. For nearly every single budget he mentioned health insurance. And that it was coming this year, it was coming this year, it was coming this year, it was coming this year. And
but it never came.
It never happened. Never, ever happened. And so I don't know why he thinks this time around he can repackage the very same promise, which was never able to be delivered.
Lucian, go and vote wisely. Vote for the children. Vote for the grandmother that's pensioned already. Vote for the sick people. Don't allow Chasney to come and con them again. He giving them a 6 for a 9. Make sure no St. Lucian. Take 6 for a 9 again from Chasney. Good afternoon, Mr. George.
All right then, caller. Thanks very much for that contribution. And I wish I had that clip, actually. I'll have to look for it maybe. I don't know if we'll be able to get it later on Monday, but certainly that clip where effectively he had promised year after year after year in every single budget that he was going to introduce national health insurance, and that they had a committee. In one instance, he spoke about having a finance levy committee to look at a levy at the time. He was talking about, to introduce to be able to cover the cost of the NHI. But of course, we can see that it never ever materialized, and so no doubt we have seen lots of promises being made. But at the same time, I think we have the benefit of this time around in terms of an electorate is to actually compare the records of the two respective political parties. We've seen them back to back. We've also seen both leaders back to back. in terms of and seeing what they have been able to deliver or not deliver. Of course, you've been hearing lots of various suggestions. Well, we've seen 4 years of the Philip Pierre administration, 4 years and 4 months, and we saw 5 years and 2 months of the Alan Chasney administration. And of course, many on his side will tell you that, well, there was COVID in the mix, and so we had COVID from 2020 to say about 1.5 years, sorry. So you can even take that out. And even if you take that out, it really is about 4 years for each party without any COVID, without any kind of major issue. And then even so, one can even argue that the post-COVID period also had its own significant challenges in terms of inflation and the cost of living going up, and the challenges in logistics, so the wars that were going on. So again, I mean, obviously all things are going to be a little different, but you did have 5 years on one end, 4 years on another end, and you should be able to compare and also to see the sincerity of the promises, the sincerity of the actions, and of course who you will want to trust to in fact lead the country over the next 5 years. Well, that's the program for today. We're already over time, unfortunately, and we do hope that you can join us again next week, Monday, for another program of the Lunchroom here on Radio Caribbean International. Of course, it's the final weekend of electioneering, so we do encourage everybody to be careful. Lots of activities being put on by the respective political parties and candidates. And so we do hope that individuals are respectful. We don't want to hear about any fracas or any sort of issues. Let's keep it clean. Let's keep it calm. And of course, yes, you can go out and have a good time. But of course, beyond that, let's remember that at the end of the day, it is important to go out and to cast your vote and to do so in good conscience. Of course, remember, you got to put one X, no more than one. If you vote for two people on the same ballot, that doesn't work. You have one ballot, you can only vote for one person. And so let's try to see, hopefully we can see a reduced number of spoiled ballots. From all indications, some long lines even right now in terms of some of the polling stations for the protective services and what have you. So we do hope things can go pretty smoothly in that regard. But of course, do have yourself a very blessed weekend. I'm your host, Alex George Jr., saying goodbye.